Bottom Powers Talks, where we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential change makers. I'm your host, Brandi Harvey. I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. I just want to wish you a day filled with love, laughter, gratitude. Today isn't just about the gifts under the tree. It's about the people gathered around it. So take a moment to be present, to give thanks for how far you've come this year, and to share kindness wherever you go. May your hearts be full, your spirit be light, and your home overflowing with peace. Merry Christmas from me and the entire Bottom Powers family.
What I often say to black folks now, in this climate of extraordinary hate, is we did it before, and we can do it again.
Yeah.
And we had far less. Okay, we had far less to work with, and we had much greater tragedies confronting us. And I believe in that. I believe that we are the pupil of the eye, surrounded by a sea of white. But it is the pupil that contains the sight. It beholds what is before it. That's scriptural. And I believe that that is what the greatest fear is what I see you. And I can see through you.
Yeah.
And we have to remind our children that they were born with the right to be treated with respect and integrity. They didn't have to earn it. Every human being was born with the right. And we need to infuse into them their intrinsic nobility, their intrinsic greatness. That's what we have to infuse in our children, regardless of what anyone else does. I'm not waiting for someone else to educate my
Listen,
children.
I think that's what's so important, right? And you tell this story about the Statue of Liberty. And as a former history teacher, I just love these historical facts, right?
Yeah.
That we cannot negate, we cannot skip past. So you tell this story of the Statue of Liberty being commissioned in 1865 by the French artist, and the original drawing
Right.
of the Statue of Liberty.
And, that story, I had no idea that it resonated the way it did with folks because I was experiencing it, right? So it's actually, the whole story is in the book, the revised book. I actually put it in there. So it was around 2007, 2008. A friend of mine called me and said me, Joy, and this friend, Floyd Myers, brother of Heavy D, he called me, he says, Joy, he lives in Mount Vernon. And our families are really close. He said, I got a new job. I said, what's the new job? He said, I work for the Department of the Interior. I said, really? He said, I'm over all the national parks for the state of New York, right? So Forestry Department, all of these. He said, I'd like you to come to the Statue of Liberty. I said, no. And he said, no, why not? I said, I'm not going, Floyd. It's going to make me mad. I'm not going. He says, well, why is it going to make you mad? I said, because, I've been to France. I'd actually seen the original drawings of Bartholdi, who was the architect who did the sculpture. And I knew that the Statue of Liberty, and everybody knows in her right hand she's holding a torch. And I always ask my audience, what is she holding in her left hand? Right? And when I was at the Statue of Liberty, because I eventually agreed, because Floyd was insistent, and he said, I can give you a pass, we can go up in her eye and everything. I said, okay. So when I go there, I'm going there with the knowledge that the Statue of Liberty was holding originally in her left hand broken chains. Again, commissioned 1865, pretty important date, end of slavery, end of the Civil War. All of those things were why. She is a statue of what? Liberty. Which makes sense. So she has broken chains in her left hand. Now she's holding a rectangular object with a Roman numeral on it. That's what she's holding. So I'm telling Floyd, I said, I know for a fact this is a historical document. I know it is. So first thing that happens when you go to Statue of Liberty, and I actually went to the first time with a friend of mine, and her name is Faith Holmes. And Faith is white, very white, blonde hair, blue eyes. She almost got us thrown out of the place. She had a meltdown, right? I'm going, look, you can't be melting down here. Okay, we're not having it, news at 11. So we're there, and I'm really, really very, very, the ranger who was, you get taken together and you get put in these groups. You're assigned a ranger. And he was very enthusiastic. He really was. A really enthusiastic man. He says, so now, I am going to be your ranger today. And they tell you more about the Statue of Liberty than you ever want to know. They tell you why it's green because it was copper and it oxidized. They tell you how they got it over there. They tell you how they changed the torch a couple of times. They tell you that they even show you how thin it is, right? Just how thin the whole thing is, right? And he says, and if you have any questions, so of course,
Excuse me.
my head shot up, right? And I said, I was wondering if you're going to talk about the chains, right? So now you got to understand, every 20 minutes, thousands of people are getting off that ferry, coming to Ellis Island, coming to Statue of Liberty. So I say something about chains, and now you got people translating it into different languages. They go, she said something about chains, right? So, because I knew that she was holding, those broken chains. So now at this point, I'm like, they got to be here somewhere. So Floyd and I are now looking for the historical document that I said, the picture of it. I said, they can't not have it. It's a Statue of Liberty. They got to have it there. So we go into the basement of the Statue of Liberty.
This was so crazy to me.
We're in the basement of the Statue of Liberty. We find the document encased in glass behind figurines facing a wall in a hallway. So here we have the truth hidden in plain sight. So I'm sitting there going, so Floyd, I take a picture of it. The picture is in the book, right? So I took a picture and I said, this is insane. I said, this is really insane that, here we have that picture. Well, I then asked my audience, who won the argument? Because Bartholdi insisted that the chains remain. He really did. He was adamant. He was an advocate for abolitionism. He said the chains got to stay. And I asked the audience, who won? Did Bartholdi win or did the United States win? And they always say, well, the United States won. I said, no, they didn't. Bartholdi won. The chains are actually still there. And they have always been there the entire time at her feet, where it is impossible to see them under any circumstances.
Yeah.
Those broken shackles are on both sides. On her, as she looks like she's walking, there are broken shackles at her feet. So the agreement was, we'll keep the chains, but we'll make it so no one can see them. Yeah. Because if she's on a pedestal, the Statue of Liberty, if no one who's ever been, sometimes they don't realize, because we always see her like she's standing flat on the ground, but she's on a huge pedestal. Right. So you can't see over to see the chains. And if you're inside, you can't see them. So they're there and they're hidden. So now I'm feeling some kind of way, right? But I'm thinking, Floyd just got the job. You know what I'm saying? The man.
I can't let him lose his good black job.
The man, I can't get the man. So I took Floyd, being Floyd, he said, go on and bring it, Joy. Go on and bring it. So I spoke to his supervisor. I said, I would like to pay to have a picture of the chains at her feet so that they're on display. And they're explained. And he said, no. I said, I'll tell you what I can do. I said, I'm sure that I can get, just across the water, a black sculptor that will just sculpt that part. Because God knows they show you every aspect of the Statue of Liberty. And he says, yeah, no. I said, okay, I'm going to tell on you. And so I travel all over the world. Yeah. For a living, I travel all over the world. And I told this story. And I showed the pictures all over the world. So I get this call from the Department of the Interior. They said, we'd like to talk to you, Dr. DeGrew. And I'm going, I'm not scared. I'm from South Central. But I did tell my family where I was going. So they call me, and I come over, and his boss, I think it was his boss's boss, who said to me, Dr. DeGrew, we want to, apologize, and we want to acknowledge that we've been negligent, and we want to correct this. We want to immediately correct this. And the first thing we want to do is, we want to hire you to train all our rangers. I said, okay. And we're going to correct this negligence we've shown. So I didn't believe him. So I went back undercover, right? Because I wanted to know a couple of things. I wanted to know if they were going to first talk about the chains unasked, because I had asked about the chains. And I was assigned with my little group. This is 2013, 2014. I go back, and I want to know if they've actually changed that. And my third visit, I go back, and I have a great ranger. The ranger not only tells the story of the chains, turns to me and says, this is American history I'm sharing. It is your history, and it is my history, and I am proud to tell the story. It's a white ranger, right? So I'm thinking, great, this is wonderful. And the next thing I know, well, on the second visit, I had seen the picture displayed, and all that was great. But then in 2019, May 23rd, the Washington Post, they now have a museum that wasn't there, and they have a huge museum now at the Statue of Liberty. And it says the Statue of Liberty was designed to celebrate freed slaves, not immigrants. Its new museum now recounts. And it goes on to explain that the immigration came later.
Right.
Years later it came. It was literally commissioned to celebrate the end of slavery. But when black people walk through, you hear white people say, oh, well, my great-great and my great-great. But black men, women, and children feel no connection to Lady Liberty.
Come on.
But how much prouder would they be if they knew that their ancestors that didn't come through Ellis Island, that came chained together in the belly of ships, that she was standing on those shackles? How much prouder would those young people be? How much honor would they display in understanding who paid for them?
Yeah.
You erased the chains, you erased me. So why don't we show the chains? And that was the whole point, because you see, once you show the chains, you've got to explain them.
You got to explain
And do
them.
you understand, every black man, woman, and child can literally say, oh, no, that's mine.
That's mine.
That's mine. And all of this time, America lied to its people and to the world. The most recognized symbol probably on the planet. And we've never told the truth.
Two things, right? When we talk about fruit. One, seeded fruit.
Yep.
Because you and I were talking about seeded grapes.
Yeah.
And if you can find the seeded grapes, you eat the seeded grapes.
Right.
But not the cotton candy grapes.
No,
Because I've seen people doing the reels, baby, and they say, these my favorite grapes. I got the cotton candy grapes. And I'm like, oh, Lord.
Man, I'm going to tell you, like, it's difficult for me to go in the grocery store because it's like I started seeing stuff that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up, my dad is from Miami, so in the summers, like, I remember, like, going to watermelon farms and throwing watermelons during the summer. And I could tell you, I never saw a watermelon without a seed.
Yeah.
So, like, the first time I saw a watermelon without a seed, I was like, whoa.
What is this?
What's wrong with this one? I went back to the store, took that one back, and I was like, yo, something's wrong with the watermelon. It didn't have no seeds in it. I was like, oh, no, it's seedless. I was like, how? And they couldn't explain to me how. And so, like, people have to understand we come from a seed. Like, every human came from a seed. That's semen. Humans don't exist without a seed.
Yeah.
Okay? Life comes from a seed. Okay? You can't have food. Like they say in Genesis 1:29, I have given you every fruit-bearing seed. Okay? That was our food in the garden. That's all we needed.
Yeah.
Okay? So to go from a divine space of not only I give you this seed, I give you this seed one time, and it's going to produce for you for a lifetime and generations. Your grandchildren will have this mango, okay, and this tree that I have in the backyard. And if an animal comes along and takes one of those mangoes and takes it 2 doors down and it drops into the ground, I will create another tree for you. That's divinity working for us.
Yeah.
So we have to understand what a seed is. That's God giving us abundance. That's God giving, like when you have your children from a seed, now your children can have children. And now their children can have children. It's the same process with food. It's no different. So that's the source and the sign of life that people just don't understand. But this is also part of the abomination and the disconnection that they've given us very slowly over time. So first the seeds were there, but they were white seeds in a watermelon. And you saw it and you said, well, I mean, it's still seeds. And then it showed up with no seeds, and you were like, well, it's convenient. Okay? That's how they work us with everything.
Yeah.
But that's why I always say, like, for me, like, it's very difficult for me to go to the grocery store because I'm looking around and I'm seeing the cotton candy grapes and, you know,
You said pink
pineapple.
pineapples.
I'm like, this is wild work.
I saw it online. I said, how did they get the pineapple pink?
It's genetically modified.
Yeah.
It's,
What did they put in it?
100% genetically modified.
Yeah.
So when you take something, I'll give you a for instance, tomato. The reason why tomatoes can grow in the winter now, because again, everything isn't just like on my farm, everything is not only seeded, it's seasonal.
It's seasonal.
We have seasons in life. Different things grow during different seasons because during the winter season, you're supposed to have things that are growing that are good for the immune system.
Mm-hmm.
During the summer season, you have things that are growing that are fruitful in water. So that's how you have a lot of melons that grow in the summer because now it's hydrating you because it's hot. Everything makes sense, okay? But when you think about how they've manipulated something like a tomato, all right, the reason why it can grow in the winter now instead of being something that grows in the summer is because now they've genetically modified it. And they splice a tomato with an Arctic flounder, which is a fish that lives in the Arctic.
Wait,
so now
so what?
Now that tomato can survive during the winter because it has the genes of an Arctic flounder fish that can survive in frigid temperatures in the water.
This is the first time I'm ever hearing this.
Yeah, but this is the abomination that's happening with the food. This is why I'm telling you, this is the matrix. Nothing is real anymore. The food isn't real anymore. This conversation is real, but most of our conversations aren't real anymore. The news isn't real anymore. Nothing is real. People helping people isn't real anymore. Nothing's real anymore. The water's tainted. The air's polluted. They're trying to use technology to block out the sun.
Yeah.
The drugs don't heal anything. Nothing is real. Nothing is what it's supposed to be. So it's up to us to get conscious and wake up and stop seeing with these two eyes because these two eyes get tricked and start looking with this eye, start looking with our divine eye.
Well, then that's getting calcified because all the damn fluoride in the water.
All the fluoride in the water. But that's also part of the waking up.
Yeah.
When we begin to wake up and realize the fluoride is calcifying our pineal gland.
Yeah.
And that pineal gland is actually useful, just like every other thing in our bodies. You know, like when you remove your gallbladder, you needed that. Okay? When you remove your appendix, you needed that. When you go to your dentist and get a root canal, and they remove the root and the nerve and the blood supply to that tooth is dead. It looks like it's still alive, but it is dead. And when an infection occurs in that tooth, it means that no immunity could get to that tooth anymore because they removed the blood vessels.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up because, of course, you hear a lot of conversation around and the correlation between breast cancer, root canals.
Yeah.
And then when people get their wisdom teeth extracted.
Yep.
Around the disease that is triggered because you get your wisdom teeth.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to understand, like I just mentioned.
I'm like the only person with me and my sister are like the only people with their wisdom teeth.
You cannot leave dead tissue in the body. This is why I'm saying you can't eat dead flesh. This is what, when you leave dead tissue in the body, it begins to necrotize and then it turns into gangrene. Okay? And then it will kill all of you. This is why when diabetics, their blood is so thick that blood can't flow to that area anymore. And then it becomes infected, and because blood can't flow there, that means that your immunity can't get there anymore.
They have to cut
the tissue begins to die. All right? They have to cut it off. Because if you don't cut it off, it will infect and kill all of you. All right? So it's no different when you get a root canal. All right? It's important that you understand that tooth is dead and that most of the time you got a root canal is because of an infection was there. But because that tooth is dead, now it gives rise to infection in the mouth. So a lot of times if you get a root canal on your right side and then you find breast cancer in your right breast, it makes sense, okay? We've already saw the studies that are connecting a lot of infections in the mouth to cardiovascular disease, but now we're starting to see it with breast cancer as well, too.
There are going to be so many people who say, oh, That's a conspiracy theory. I don't even believe that. I can't get with that.
Yeah.
I got breast cancer because it run in my family.
Yeah.
I got breast cancer because I got cancer because my grandmama, and I got hypertension because my grandmother. What do you say about that?
I think it's a cop-out. I think it's people willing to compromise themselves because it's easier when your doctor tells you something simple. And I'll tell you, the number one cause of death for cardiologists is heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number one cause of death for somebody who treats heart disease, is heart disease. And this is coming from somebody who's a clinician. So I'm telling you, we don't know what we're talking about. When it comes to healing, when it comes to treatment, we know exactly what we're talking about. But when it comes to actual healing and health, we know nothing about it. We only know about treating symptoms. So the idea that something can be a conspiracy, well, first of all, look at the new studies that are coming out. They've done many studies on, let me give you, for instance, they've done many studies on a drug called ivermectin. Now, most people, when they hear ivermectin, they think of a dewormer for their pet or a horse. All right?
Okay, yeah, I've never heard of it. Don't have a pet, though.
Well, you've heard of dewormers for dogs.
Oh, dewormers. Yeah.
Deworming is parasites.
Okay, yes.
The number one cause of death for dogs, you know what it is?
It's not parasites, right?
Cancer.
The number one cause of death in dogs is cancer?
Cancer. And what do they constantly do when you go to a vet? Putting them on dewormers, parasite medications. Okay? So what I'm telling people is that they're never going to tell you that. The cancer industry is a billion-dollar industry. They load you up with chemo. They load you up with radiation. They give you mammograms. They do surgeries and cut things out of you. Okay, but all of the new information is showing you, not only when you look at parasites over here and cancer over here, their metabolism is the same. Okay, and let me explain what I mean by that. When you look at a healthy cell, we metabolize using glucose, using cellular respiration, meaning we need oxygen, okay, to metabolize and make energy, all right? When you look at cancer, cancer doesn't use that mechanism. That's how you can distinguish between a cancer cell and a healthy cell. A cancerous cell uses fermentation, okay? When something is fermenting, what is it doing? In many cases, it's dying. It's creating, it's rotting.
Yeah.
Okay, so cancer uses fermentation. It does not use what a healthy cell uses. It also uses a lot of glutamate, okay, which is an amino acid. And guess what else uses that same metabolic pathway of glutamate? Parasites. They cannot function without it. All right, so that's why they've done the studies with ivermectin in a lot of dogs, a lot of horses, but also now humans now, and they're showing you that when you put somebody who has cancer on ivermectin, it starts to kill off the cancer. So is the cancer, or is it cancer and parasites, or is it just parasites?
Wow. But they can get on the detox and maybe start clearing these parasites out.
And that's why part of what my detox does is so important to get rid of parasites, because most people have them. If you eat sushi, if you eat salmon, okay, if you consume a lot of meat, okay, because all you got to do is next time you get that pork chop and you bring it home, set it out, pour some Coca-Cola on it, pour some acid, which is what Coca-Cola is, and you will see all of these parasites come out of it. Okay, now in your mind, you're thinking, well, I cook it, so I kill it.
No, they ball up and then they expand out.
Not only that, heat doesn't kill the eggs that they lay. So the eggs that are in the meat, you might have killed some of the parasites, but you didn't kill the eggs. So when they go in your body, you're still getting parasites. So this is why.
And then they're hatching in your pancreas.
Yeah, they're hatching in your gut, and then they're just going to every part of the body. I mean, I had somebody I was working with, had cancer in the neck.
But you're not 55 though, right?
But I am.
You're 55 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
Terry.
Bring it. I mean, what you want me to do?
You are say this, baby. Let me say this. When I was prepping and I started following you, this was about a month or so ago when we said you was doing the show.
Yeah.
And I saw your abs. I said, I am coming for abs in this season of my life. Carrie, I'm in a whole ab challenge right now. I do a
You are hilarious.
100 plus. I'm doing like 300 right now a day. I know I'm trying to get up there. You fine.
Oh,
Okay, you live right. You mind your business. You drink your water.
1,000%. You are 1,000% correct. I mind my business.
Yeah.
There's so many things I don't know about that goes on. Me and Lachey were talking about this earlier when we were waiting to come in here. Like, I don't know about all this crazy madness. None of it comes to me.
Yeah.
It's never come to me. I've been in this business 30 years. Some of the stories I hear about what goes down and what goes on and who did, it's never touched me.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. I'm not saying that that's good, that I'm that naive, that I don't know what's going on behind these doors.
Yeah.
But I feel covered and protected, and it makes my skin clear.
I mean,
with the water and the mind of my business.
What's the workout? Because I'm gonna get back into the other stuff that I said I want to talk about. You know, the marriage, the family. Tyler Perry, all the things. Okay, what we doing?
So I love spin class.
Okay.
I walk the hills in my neighborhood a lot, and at my age, I have to stretch like every day.
Yeah.
Stretching is important. And for the abs, literally the only thing I do is that roller thing. The wheel.
That's what I'm addicted to every day.
That wheel.
Okay, how many do you do a day?
Well, I don't do it every day, but I do it at least 2 or 3 times a week, and I do 30.
Oh, well, Terry, I got to have me some abs in a minute because, baby, I'm
going to get it. You're gonna. And
I'm
then
doing
what are you
100.
eating, Brandi? You also it's
So
it's water. No juice.
Oh yeah. No. I gave up alcohol.
Yeah.
Over 100 days.
See, I can't
I
do
gave
that.
up. I gave up alcohol.
I'm not gonna say can't.
Over 100 days. I stopped snacking. I eat a whole food diet. But I will say this: the only time that I've had visible like popping abs was when I was a fitness competitor. That was the only time.
But see, but let me just be honest.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of an illusion.
Yeah, because
it was the outfit, and it just depends. Well, it depends on the day.
Yeah,
it depends on how. So if you noticed, I know what picture you're talking about.
You had on leather.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, but you see how high it came up.
But that's all right.
So it was the top of my abs, of my stomach that was showing. It was not the bottom half of my abs because there's a little pooch there.
We're not gonna downplay that. We're not gonna downplay it. We're not gonna down. Don't let this lady do this to y'all. She fine in real life. It's not no avatar. This is not AI. Okay, like them was real abs. Some of y'all don't have none of that going on, top or bottom. Okay, let me be real clear. Okay. So now that I know that you're doing 30 on the wheel, baby, I'm there. She tight though. She be flat. But I want them like literally funny. I want them like.
What's that? And I don't really want that. I don't care about that.
Oh, I love that for you.
I just want to be fit. I want to be fit. Yeah. I like to eat, but I watch what I eat. But when I want to eat what I want to eat, I eat. Yeah. And, I do enjoy my cocktails. Yeah. So,
it's a balance. Okay. So get on the ab wheel, drink your water, mind your business.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's the biggest part. Yeah. And then you can have your cocktail or two.
Yes.
When you want to.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you fit and fine. You've been married 17 years?
Yes.
17 years to the same man.
Yes,
okay, you got to put that out there.
Yeah.
Because like, well, I have multiple.
Well, I did have multiple. My first one was 5 years old. So I've been a married woman then for 28 years then.
Okay.
What is that? 28?
Well, no. 5 would be 22.
Yeah.
22.
Okay. Yeah.
We got you. I'm with you.
You mathing for me? Thank you.
Just a little bit. Don't ask me to do any more than this.
Yeah.
So, 17 years. Yeah. Karan Riley. He is also your co-star in She the People.
The new show.
On Netflix. Top 10. Made top 10 on Netflix.
Yeah,
okay.
We made up to number 2. I was really excited. I thought we were going to hit 1, but it's okay.
That's okay. I know what you're talking about. I know who was in the number 1 spot that week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. was a lot of, it was a different type of show.
Totally different. I mean, was it Kevin Bacon
and Julianne Moore?
And Julianne Moore.
Yeah. So
all good.
yeah,
all good.
different demo.
Totally.
But I mean, you all met, while you were working.
Yes.
And somehow now the stars align and you all still work together.
We do. We do. So we, like you said, we've been married 17 years. I have, my oldest son is from my previous marriage. He's 20. He'll be 24 on the 14th of June.
Wow.
So that's when I was on the show. I was pregnant the last season of the Steve Harvey show. I was pregnant with him, with that kid, Dalen. And then Karan and I have a 17-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter together. But everybody lives at home.
Okay.
Everybody's at home.
I mean, you've talked about the secret to keeping your marriage together.
Yeah.
And that's consistently growing together.
Yeah. I mean, and you have to find your right teammate for sure. And if you think about it, just whether you're single or married, as life goes on, you're always evolving, you're always growing, you're always changing. Just alone, you are. So imagine now you have two people who individually will grow, stretch, challenge, all the things. But you guys are cohabitating and building a life together. And so I think that just like you have to give yourself grace about how you're changing and you're not the same and now you do this, and you have to be able to give your person the grace to change too, because now they're not the same person you married.
Yeah.
But that's because he's human. And as a human, you're going to keep changing, hopefully, because you should be growing.
Yeah.
And so it's giving that grace and that space to each other, because you don't always grow at the same time. Sometimes somebody's growing up here and you still down here, and it's like, whoa, what you doing up there?
Yeah.
It's like, well, what you doing down there? You got to give each other a pass for that, because then eventually that's going to come up and it changes.
Yeah.
And so it's the grace of allowing each other to change and not giving up, because now it's different, because now you're different. Now I'm different. So that doesn't mean necessarily that, oh, now we don't fit, now we don't go together. No, it just means give each other grace. You still are, have common goals, and you made a commitment, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
If you can get through those moments of stretching and growing and change, and it's ongoing.
I said, we eliminated segregation, right? Everybody goes, now it's like the hand. I don't know. I don't know.
Do I say something?
I don't know.
know.
What you gonna say? I'm gonna just safely say, I don't know. I said, well, no, let's just take a look at it. We eliminated segregation in America officially. And then I asked the audience, is there a hood? Does anybody know where the hood is? All their hands up. I said, so you know that there's a place where black people are. Okay. But there's no sign on the freeway that says next right hood.
Right.
So we pretend that's not true. We pretend that segregation doesn't exist in America, and it exists everywhere in America, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the lie, when people are wanting to see it up front. But then what is the symptomology of post-traumatic slave syndrome? Because the truth of the matter, it's not a diagnosis. It's not post-traumatic stress disorder, which is treated with medication and talk therapy and any number of other things. Post-traumatic suggests that not only have you been harmed physically, you've been harmed emotionally, you've been harmed spiritually, you've been harmed economically.
Right.
You have been harmed politically. You've been harmed. And that requires more than medicine and talk therapy. That requires justice. Healing cannot happen without justice, because we'd love that to be it, because all they do is put a code in the DSM and figure out how to get paid for injuring us. Are you following?
Ooh, Doc.
I'm just saying, and so when I think about it on a practical level for those that are your listeners or your viewers, and I want people to start looking at everyday behavior that we've normalized. That is adaptive behavior. It is survival behavior.
You give this example of being at the bank
And you got the little children at the bank. The mother standing there with her little son at the bank, and in the line.
In the line.
Yeah.
In the line. So what? I don't know. I am 67 years old, and I knew where I was in the bank. And what I asked Black people to this day, I said, when you were little and you were in any place of business, not just a bank, but particularly in the bank, where were you in proximity of your parent? You are right next to him.
And if you do not move,
and you try get you. I don't know what the snap is, but the snap is in there. Get you. Right. Child can't move. The child cannot move. Sometimes they're literally holding on.
Absolutely.
Right? So this is a bank. The mother, the father, with the little kids, in the same bank. They're white children. They rolling around. They sliding down the aisle, rolling on the rings, coming up to you saying, "Oh, that's pretty hair. I like. What's your name?" There's a kid rolling around. Now the Black children are adhered to their parents, but you see something. This is a nonverbal communication now. There's something that both sets of children are learning. Both sets of children are innocent. They're just children, but they're learning, and the Black children are learning anger, fear, and shame.
Absolutely.
Right there. Nobody said a word. And it is reinforced. I mean, what's so deep about it is they can't move. Now, the white children are going, they can't move. Something must be wrong with them. Because they can't move. And then the Black kids look and say, it's their world, not mine. Then when we look at the social constraints, because you see, this is not just an individual and one family. We've all been socialized. So now in the back of the line is another Black person. They don't know this Black mother or father and their children. They get to the counter. Now the kids are little. They're actually lower than the counter. And they're under the counter. Now let me explain something. There is something called secure attachment. And there is a level of comfort in exploring one's environment.
Absolutely.
That's a normal
Yes.
human developmental phase for a child, to have a level of autonomy that says, I'm free to move, right? So now the children are underneath the counter. The parent is distracted, dealing with the teller, and the children are trying to escape. So they're sliding. They're trying to slide down because they're trying to actually fulfill that developmental task.
Right.
You see, it's in them to do. But the person in the back that doesn't know the parent sees the little escapees, and they give them the eye that only Black people can give. It's that stare. Right? And the kid goes, oh, man. And they start moving back over. So here is a stranger that got your back now.
Yeah.
Now let's ask the question, why? Why is everyone behaving that way? If you ask the parent, they go, well, they don't need to be running around. They give you reasons. That's where I was when I was in the bank. And what that has to do with is survival.
Yes.
We saw what happened when Emmett Till strayed just
Yes.
a little too far, just being a kid. Didn't even do what they said he did. He didn't even say, hey, baby, none of that happened. The woman who claimed that, wrote about it in her book.
Right.
That it was all a lie, and they killed him. And so what we have learned is that we aren't safe. And that behavior, even when it is safe, it is locked in to our DNA that says we don't get to do that. Do you see what I'm saying?
It's so real, Doc, because I look at it even with my nephew. I have an 8-year-old nephew, and he has grown up as a free person, a free thinker. And so he has autonomy. We go out. He needs something. He will go up to the server. He's going to get up. He's going to make sure, right? But then there are moments, right, when he's at school, right? And my sister is like, I know you better not have them white folks calling me up there. Like, you don't have them white folks calling my phone about you. So as much as he's been given freedom, there is a part of him and there's a part of you, even in this day and age, that says, but hold on now. I'm going to let you explore. I'm going to let you be free. I know you are a thinker. I know you got freedom. But there's a part that I still have to be vigilant, hyper vigilant about to keep you safe.
That's right. And here's what's interesting about that, right? When I talk to Black parents, and I actually have a 10-week graduate level course that I teach online. And I actually have done that particular course in the community with just parents. And my only rule is if I show up, you better show up because I'm doing it free, right? And what I've learned is, you see, we have trauma associated with schools as adults. Black parents don't feel comfortable going into schools. My daughter did research on it, right? We're triggered. We're triggered walking in there because we remember what happened to us. So when I'm in audiences and I say to parents, I said, you have a child, let's just, middle school, whatever age, doesn't really matter what age the child is. And you see the child has got a C on their report card. And you say to that child, why did you have this C? And they'll tell you, that's because my teacher, and I don't say the answer, it's because my teacher and the audience all at once says, doesn't like me.
Doesn't like me.
My teacher doesn't like me. We are relationship-based people. That goes all the way back to our ancestors. We're relationship-based.
Yes.
That's why when we walk down the street, all we have to do is that nod.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone knows what the nod means. Perfect stranger in the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
What does a nod mean? The nod means I see you.
I see you. I see you.
It means I see you.
Yeah.
Right? So that is embedded in us. Our children grow up calling, I was calling people auntie and uncle. I didn't know till I was fully grown they had no biological connection to me. You better put a handle on it. That's auntie.
That's it.
If my grandkids were here, they'd call you auntie.
Yes. Or
right?
Miss so and so.
Miss.
Or Miss.
That's right.
Because my sister be like, she don't eat lunch with you at the school. That ain't your friend. That ain't your home girl.
That ain't your little friend.
That ain't your little friend. That's Miss so and so. That's Mr. That's Mr.
That's right. You're gonna, because it's respectful,
It's respect,
right? So our children grow up in that, and they go to school, and they're ignored, and it hurts them, and they don't even have the words to articulate. They're only four or 5 years old, and all they know is I'm reading you, because that's the other thing that people don't understand about black children. Black children can read you before the developmental charts say they can. They may not be able to articulate it, but they can tell when you're not being sincere.
Right.
And then they get punished for it.
Ooh.
They punish them for that. And so I work in the community. I work with parents. I give them the language. I help them deal with how they're triggered, because when they were in school, they felt like they weren't smart enough. Teacher didn't call on them, or they were always looked at negatively. Another study, Yale Child Study, looked at a huge number of teachers. I think it was 126 teachers they looked at, preschool. And what they wanted to know, they told the teachers that we want you to look at this room full of children, and we want you to point out any potential problem you might see there, any potential problem. Where the deception is there was no problem behavior going on. They wanted to look at the trajectory of their gaze. They wanted to know, where did they look when they expected bad behavior?
Oof.
And of course, it came out the same way we understand of all these kids that are getting expelled or kicked out. They look specifically at the black boy.
Absolutely.
They look specifically at the black boy. Even when there were two children off task, white and black, not only both off task, doing the same off task behavior, they only saw the black boy.
Absolutely.
And of these over 100 teachers, they weren't all white teachers. Do you see what I'm saying? When you close your eyes, the image, the same thing comes up. So here you have these children that aren't doing anything wrong.
But being children.
And being children.
They're being children.
And then they get punished for it.
Yeah.
And see, America's dissonance is we have a country that has prided itself on democracy, on send us your poor, your tired, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, one nation under God. And all of those great, wonderful pronouncements would be great if at the same time you weren't enslaving African people and committing genocide against indigenous people.
Right.
How do you reconcile that conflict? And again, here's the thing that's so deep. They said, well, it's so upsetting and troubling. We can't teach African American history. We can't. Well, it's history.
Right.
Okay, first of all, but we can't teach it. It's going to upset the little children. They're going to feel guilty. They're going to, be cowering in the corners. Well, my niece recently, this is very recently, that, the last year or so, her job was to go around the state of Oregon, and share history. And she shared the history of Thomas Jefferson, oh boy, and, Phyllis Wheatley. And then she would give them these questions afterwards. And one of the things that Thomas Jefferson said was that black people weren't smart and could not be creative. They could not produce art.
Right.
Right. These are the things that he said, and in my presentations, of course, I show things that really, really contradict that whole idea. But she asks her students, these are sixth grade, predominantly white students. She asks them, why do you think Thomas Jefferson might have said that black people weren't smart and couldn't be creative? And one of the kids said, well, when you objectify people, it's easy to look at them as lesser than you. Another one said, because if people thought that black people were smart and black people were creative, then they wouldn't want to make them slaves.
Right.
And then that would lose him a lot of money, right? Another one said, well, he's racist. The other one said, over and over again, I said, do these sound like children cowering in a corner,
Right.
afraid? No, they're clear. And they're not going to adopt those perspectives of their parents. That's why they don't want it taught. What's the problem? They can't, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, all of it. And so when you think of that, if we're eliminating Rosa Parks,
come on,
you think I'm going to let you talk about American chattel slavery, the rape, the pillage, the destruction of people, the experimentation, all of those things?
Yeah.
No, but this is the truth. And I believe that truthfulness is the foundation of all human virtue. Without truthfulness, you cannot attain the other virtues. You have to first tell the truth.
Yeah.
And that's fundamental as an educator, as a clinician. When people come to me for therapy, when I was, doing one-on-one therapy, inevitably they'd come with a presenting problem. Well, it's my 14-year-old. She's acting out. And I'll start there, but there's always a secret. And the secrets make us sick.
I want you to get into this because even when you talk about in the book, which your book is on the banned book list.
Yeah.
Your book, you can't put this in the schools.
Oh, no.
And I was telling my sister, I was like, I think we need to make our book club a banned book club.
Yeah.
Because we have to be able to make sure that our children, that our friends, that our cousins, that our sisters know this information. Because it's hiding right in plain sight.
Yes.
Because you talk about the secrets keeping us sick, and how many of us, when we look back from a cultural lens, right, at our own lives and our own families, and we see how sickness and disease plagues Black people at alarming rates. And you really give voice to that because you talk about, we can look at Harriet Washington's medical apartheid. You talk about the experimentations. I want you to talk about how we have allowed the secrets to keep making us sick.
So one of the things that I did is I began to, my family is from Louisiana. My father only went to the sixth grade.
The Asiatic Black man.
Asiatic Black man. He was serious. My dad, But my father used to he'd make this statement. He'd say, if a white man has a cold, then the black man has pneumonia. Right? And so part of the injury, the assault on Black people is them beginning to believe some of the myths. The other thing is to understand, because inevitably someone always asks me, they go, well, how do I understand? How do you connect connect slavery with contemporary African-American behavior? I said, how can you not?
How can you not?
How can you not? 339 years of trauma and survival and adaptation. You learn how to survive in hostile environments. And surviving isn't always pretty. It isn't always pretty, but it's very functional. So I have to give examples of how that shows up. So one of the things I do in my audience is I'll say, well, if I shoot this person that's on the front row, is everyone in agreement that they're traumatized?
Yes.
And everyone goes, yeah, I think we can go with that.
Yeah.
Right. I said, all right. So now the person that's seated next to the person that's shot, they too are traumatized because they saw it. Someone in the hall hears the shot, later finds out who it is, they're traumatized. They call the person who's been shot, they call their family that are in Oklahoma and tell them what's happened, they're traumatized. Now, at the same time, you may have someone that's just maybe one aisle away that saw the whole thing. They're interviewed, well, what happened? Oh, it was awful. There was blood everywhere and it was so sad. When's lunch? Not traumatized. So everyone's not traumatized by a traumatic event because we have a differential response to stressors as human beings. But when we talk about slavery, we're not talking about a single stressor. We're talking about lifetimes of stress and trauma. Lifetimes. It is not plausible that you can escape that with no injury.
Right.
Now, we are all familiar with post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And what happens to people. Exaggerated startle response, right? Difficulty falling and staying asleep, feeling of foreshortened future, triggers based on things that resemble the original event. All of these things happen by a single trauma that could be experienced directly, like the person shot or the person that got the phone call in Oklahoma. You follow me?
Yeah.
All of them could end up with a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder requiring medication and people talking to them softly twice a week. Right? You weren't even there.
Right.
So what do you think happens when you have been there and you have been borne the brunt of that? Right? And then people go, well, then didn't y'all get free? Oh, yeah. So now let's do the math. 339 years of trauma. Get any help with that? When, and again, this is difficult to hear, but when someone decides that your 8-year-old, they're going to pass around to the evening men because that's their proclivity. Or they take your wife or your friend, or they sell your baby from your arms. Did we get any help for that?
Right.
Was there any therapeutic assistance? No, not for 339 years. We did the best we could to heal under hostile environments. And then you got freed. Great. Any help then? What, anybody have any data that suggests that we said, well, we know it's been deep. We know, we've sold away your family. We've beaten and lynched people.
Right.
Let's do some group therapy. No. Nobody showed up.
Nothing.
Nobody showed up. So now, 339 years of trauma, no help. Freed, no help. Did the trauma continue?
Absolutely.
You bet it did, all the way up to 2025.
Erectile dysfunction
Man,
is tearing some relationships up.
indeed.
And so much of it is attributed to highly processed meats, red meat, processed junk foods and snacks, sugary drinks. Erectile dysfunction, especially in younger men, is an early sign of cardiovascular disease and may decrease quality of life.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so, man, I'll tell you. So let me just keep it all the way real. I remember in my 20s when I started my journey, I did not know that I had an issue in the bedroom. It wasn't until I went plant-based, and after 3 months, I lost a significant amount of weight initially. So I lost like 50 pounds total in about 60 days, all right? And I remember the girl that I was dating at the time, she hated the weight loss because to her, like, I just looked like a football player with the 50 pounds on. And then off, it looked like I aged backwards like 20 years.
Yeah, now you was like, you all right, you
Yeah.
you on
know how-
something?
exactly. You know how black families are. They like, you sick?
You sick? You want something? He take drugs now, girl. We got to pray for him.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I remember her saying, I asked her because for me, I was like, damn, I got abs again. Like, it was amazing. So I was like, what do you think about the weight loss? I just made me ask her, and she was like, I don't like it. But she was like,
This is the same girlfriend that was nudging you because you sounded like a bear at night, too.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, I don't like the weight loss. She was like, it make you look so young when you're with me. And I just, what she was really trying to say is, I don't feel like you can protect me now. But she was like, but in the bedroom, she was like, I didn't know it could get better like this. And I was like, well, what do you mean? How was it before? And she was like, well, that's over. We ain't got to talk about that.
She said, I don't want to hurt your feelings, baby.
Yeah, so like what I understood from that was I was at the beginning stages of ED.
Okay, because you weren't able to get it up or you just
No,
weren't multiple
getting
times?
it up wasn't a problem.
Okay.
Okay?
Stamina.
Stamina wasn't a problem.
What was the problem, though?
Being fully erect.
Oh, it was kind of like, it's kind of here, but kind of not.
Yeah, because what I like when I talk to men, most men don't know what a fully erect penis is. But if you remember back to when you was a little boy and you got your first erection, your penis came up like this.
Yeah.
It almost pointed at you. Okay? So I always tell men that's how you measure how healthy your erection is. If it's up like this, you super healthy. If it's down like this, okay, we got some little work to do. If it's at 90 degrees, still good, but you're heading in the wrong direction. And once you're erected, but your penis is pointing down, okay, but not up, now you know you're at the stage where you need to do something about it.
This is why I wanted to have this conversation with you. Because I told you before, it's one thing when you hear female physicians and doctors talk about men and erectile dysfunction. But it's another thing when you hear it from a man who has the working parts to let other men know what life can really be like.
Yeah, for sure.
If they change their diet too.
Yeah, even waking up with a morning erection is normal for a man. Like that's a sign of health.
Sign of good health.
As well too. And so what men don't understand about an erection is it's all about blood flow. This is why it's totally connected to cardiovascular disease. When your blood flow begins to suffer, the first place it suffers for a man is going to be in their erection. Okay? So that's a sign of a lack of nitric oxide. Okay? Nitric oxide is what causes the blood vessels to dilate and get bigger. As they dilate, they allow more blood flow to come through. Okay? But as you're eating foods that are very inflammatory, it causes those blood vessels to constrict. Now it's much more difficult to get blood flow into that area. Okay.
So that's the sugary processed foods, the drinks, that's the alcohol, that's the processed meats, that's the red meat, that's all of those things.
That's all of those things because they're inflammatory. You eat foods that inflame the body, they're going to cause the blood vessels to get tight. Now think about plumbing because guys understand this perfectly. If you have a very cold day and some of the water inside of your plumbing begins to freeze, and then you turn the water on to get water to your faucet, it's going to create so much pressure because the ice is in there, okay? And what does water do when it freezes? It expands, okay? Creating more pressure, making it more difficult for blood to flow. So this is why men have to understand if you're eating an inflammatory diet at some point, especially, going into your 30s now, which it used to be going into your 50s and your 60s, but now it's going into your 30s, okay? But even me, I remember when I was working in a hospital, I had young men in their 20s coming in asking for ED medications because they had real issues. So it's starting as early in the 20s now. But that's not just a sign that you're going to have a problem in the bedroom. It's also a sign that you're going to have a problem with your heart health as well, too.
I mean, when we look at the food, what are some foods that we can be putting into our bodies that will bring down the inflammation?
So there's a few foods that could be helpful for somebody who's suffering with ED. The first thing you want to do is get the inflammation out. All right, because the inflammation is causing the constriction. That's what's slowing down the blood flow. And if your blood flow is being sort of blocked to your heart and your kidneys, the last thing your body cares about is your penis. Okay, so that just is what it is. Your body gonna make some CEO decisions.
Yeah,
okay,
and your wood is not the part of
the wood ain't all good. So, the first thing you want to do is get some anti-inflammatory foods in your diet. That's gonna be, your green leafy vegetables. Stay away from things like spinach and kale because they have oxalates in it. Go more towards arugula, dandelion leaf.
Wait, stay away from kale?
I would say stay away from kale and spinach because they have oxalates in it. Oxalate is oxalic acid. And if you're trying to get rid of inflammation, it may not be good for a person who's trying to get rid of inflammation.
That is so good to know.
So then switch over to more of the green leafy vegetables like arugula and dandelion leaf because they're bitter, but they're also more alkalizing to the body. And anything that's alkalizing to the body is anti-inflammatory. So get your green juice on, get your green smoothie on, okay? That's going to be important. Get some antioxidants in the body. because that's going to fight off not only the inflammation but also free radicals in the body as well too. That's going to be things like fruit, especially your tropical exotic fruits. Okay, so get some, pomegranate in there. That's good for nitric oxide that dilates the blood vessels. Get some soursop if you can find it in there as well too. That'll be helpful as well too. But get your fruits on, get your berries on. All right, antioxidants, and try to get a range of colors, especially the blues and the purples, because they have anthocyanin, which is very anti-inflammatory. All
So
right.
that's the blueberries. That's the dark
The
seeded grapes,
blackberries,
the
yeah.
blackberries.
Yes.
All of those are going to be really good for
Yeah,
that.
so get those going. And then I would say get some healthy fats in, because healthy fats are going to have omega 3s. So my healthy fats are going to be things like sea moss, okay, to get my omega 3s. I get that from seaweed and dulse. I also get it from avocado, a really great um, sort of source as well, too. Um, Other nuts and seeds, walnuts, Brazil nuts, um, you know, just getting some hemp seed as well too. So those are my choice that I go to as well too. And then I didn't mention before, but one of the best sort of fruits that you could have is watermelon. Okay, now Beyonce did a song about watermelon is about a whole nother thing. Okay, but what men don't know about watermelon being good for them is that, especially the rind of the watermelon, that little white part, and make sure you get seeded. That white part, eat that part too, because that's the part that has citrulline and arginine in it.
Now that was the part when we was growing up as kids. Don't eat that part; it's gonna make your stomach hurt.
Nah, that's the good part. That's where the citrulline and the arginine is that causes the blood vessels to dilate. Okay? So that's, I mean, women, if you love your man, get your man some watermelon juice.
Baby, they at the farmers market today, Doc. Okay, I'm gonna see them over
And
there.
for the ladies, they could do okra water.
The okra, I like okra is such a staple in my diet.
Man,
It
the
is.
okra water.
I have tried the okra water. Now, it's a little.
Let me tell you something.
It's a little. It's a
All right?
slippery slope.
Ladies,
It's slippery.
they had a song called WAP.
Okay.
Okay,
This is the WAP water.
this WAP water. Okay, so men, get your woman
Some okra.
some okra water. Okay, so
Listen.
he gonna be good in the bedroom, and you definitely gonna be good in the bedroom.
You gotta go get your watermelon and your WAP water.
Yeah, there
the
you go.
okra. The okra water.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Hmm.
So women should be drinking okra water.
I mean, men can too, because it helps as well with men.
I see you on your
as-
social.
Yeah.
And Doc said he gonna get it on angles. He said he
Man,
gonna have it.
Let me tell you something. Don't play in the bedroom with your woman.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things that.
So, Doc, I want you, because so many of us, we're in spaces that we may be one, is one of us, we the token. We're in corporate spaces, we're in neighborhoods because we wanted to move our children and have a better way of life.
Yeah.
And so we experience a lot of microaggressions. And so how do the microaggressions show up? And how does that lead into the dissonance?
Well, anything like in our own life, your life, my life, there are times, there are things like, I have family and friends that lost their homes in the fires, right? And I'm working with a group called the Global Circle, and I, sent in names of Black psychiatrists, Black, mental health people, because nobody's talking about the Black and Latino population that lost everything, and they had inherited their houses, right? So I was dealing with that. Other issues going on, people sick in the family. These are things that happen in our lives, right? But cumulatively, what happens when cumulatively you go to work? There's a brother, his name is John Graham. He wrote a book called Plantation Theory. Really recommend it, because he worked in corporate America, very tip-top corporate America. And he talks about the cost of that climb and what it did to him. So he gets a call. this is, every time it's a story. I don't know what else to do. I got to tell you a story. Real true story, though. Always a true story. So he gets a call from his wife saying, our 7-year-old just asked a question that stunned me, and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to answer it. So when he gets home, she tells him that her 7-year-old says, how come you and Daddy change the way you talk when you talk to people from work? Right? That's the code switch, right? He said, tell her the truth. We do it to make white people feel comfortable. And of course, he left that corporate world. But what is the cumulative effect of living inauthentically?
Oof.
Of living this charade, not being able to be, too black.
Yeah.
Can't be too black. See, that's where, where people, again, I don't adjust it. Maybe I'll definitely adjust for children if I'm talking to children about things that are difficult. But I don't adjust for any other audience because I'm a big grown up. My daughter says I've been black too long. That's what's going on. But I refuse to not be my whole self.
Right.
I refuse to hide who I am, which my whole life, to get that good job, to stay in that space.
Right.
What do? The assault on our spirits, our minds, our hearts, constant assault, laughing at the joke that wasn't funny, listening to people say things and think it's okay to say because you're not, you're a different Negro. You're the special Negro. Yeah. Right. Whatever the case, I don't do that. Matter of fact, during Black History, that's when everybody feels it's an appropriate time. It's politically correct to be nice to, the Negroes month. And, I just, and I want to tell a story. Maybe you've not heard this story. I don't tell it often, but it's the story of one of these Black History times. And the only thing I'll do when people invite me to do stuff, generally speaking, I will, close friends, stuff that's where people are conscious and sane, or children. So many years ago, I got a call, and it was from the coast of Oregon. It was these people on the coast. It's really very white. Very, very white. And they said, we'd like you to talk to youth about Martin Luther King being a drum major for justice, right? So very reluctantly, I said, well, it's kids. It's okay. I can take my kids. It's a beach day. I'm trying to justify what. So I get there, got my computer, have my thing all set up, and they're 3 to 6 year olds. The whole audience are 3-year-olds to 6-year-olds.
Wow.
When he said youth, I'm thinking
middle school.
Yeah, at least, right?
5th, 6th grade.
And so I take my computer, I just close it and put it down because that's not what's going to happen. And they were all on the rug with their legs floated, picking their noses and doing it. It's all white except the adopted Asian kids. That was kind of in, white people who adopted. That's the only time you saw any other child. So I'm going, okay, God, what am I going to do? So I said, here's the thing. I said, how many people anybody want to do a skit? I do. All of these kids are hopeful. They're just so cute. So I took 2 little girls. I said, we're going to go upstairs. I'm going to be the teacher. I told them what the skit was going to be. I'm the teacher, and you're the students. So I had them in at chairs, at desks, facing all the kids with, on the floor. And then I had my back to them at my desk. I gave one had a toy, and one had a crayon. So when the little girl with the crayon, she got up and left, and the little girl with the toy took a crayon, right? So she comes to me, she comes back to her desk, she sees the girl took her crayon. So she says, teacher, she took my crayon. I said, she did. Yeah, so I have them. We're all standing up front now. I go, did you take her crayon? She said, yes. I said, say you're sorry. She goes, I'm sorry. I said, okay. So I turned around, sat down, and they went and sat down. And the little kids were like, hey, the whole audience is like, why? But I said, is there a problem? What's the problem? So I said, okay, let's do it again. Maybe they didn't hear it. I said, now, did you take a crayon? Yes. Say you're sorry. I'm sorry. I said, so she says she's sorry. So the 3-year-old. This is a 3-year-old, waving at her. She was very upset. I said, is there a problem? She said, she got to give back the crayon.
She got to give it back.
She got to give it back. Saying you're sorry, not enough.
Yeah.
So a 3-year-old understands justice. It's not just for her to keep the crayon. And what we have to insist is that they give the crayon back.
That's such a great analogy.
That's a story. It's true life.
Like
real life.
it's like this is what we need, because people think that, well, it's not happening to me. People think, well, that's not my life. I have a black friend. My nanny's black. I love black people. My coworker, what's her name?
Right.
And so we think that it doesn't pertain to us. That's not my problem. That's not my scenario. That's not my life. But you really make us see and understand that it's all connected. We're all connected.
Absolutely, we're connected.
The human experience.
It's a human experience. And are we going to wait till, the fire's at our door? And, even in tragedy, I mean, Katrina, look at all the different tragedies. Every single time, the differential response to a tragedy. To a tragedy. They said, oh, they were just looters.
Right.
Right? The other people were finding resources.
I mean, it was the same thing even when you saw some of the images from the fire. It just recently in LA.
That's right.
People trying to get stuff out of their own homes, and they're called they're looters.
Because again, that image is seared into our brains. And again, the impact, what we are carrying. I always say my people are a miracle.
Yeah.
And they are. And I wouldn't never want to be born anything but black.
I tell people all the time, if I come back in the next life, I'm coming back as a black woman.
I'll be black. I'll be black.
I'm coming back as a black woman in the next lifetime too.
There is nobody like us.
It's not.
Nobody like us. And,
I want to, because when we think that things have changed, so many things remain the same.
Yes.
FBI report in 2023. The highest level of hate crimes in the United States. Over 50% of those reported crimes were rooted in race, ethnicity, or ancestry in 2023.
That is correct.
Well over 11,000 hate crime cases.
Yes. And the most significant threat, according to Homeland Security and the FBI, was white supremacy. Their words.
Wow. White supremacy has many victims, you said.
Many, many victims.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that really struck me because I spend a lot of time everywhere with all people of every walk of life. I just got back from the Netherlands, believe it or not. And, I was asked to come to the Netherlands, and I'm thinking, actually my DNA, part of our DNA goes to the Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
Oh, not proud of that because they were crazy. All get out. The people that I came from, they still doing blackface in the Netherlands, just saying. So I was surprised because of those from Suriname, slavery. They were taken, and colonialism, the whole thing, and they wanted to translate my book into Dutch. That's how resonating it was for them. But when I think about, the victims, I think about indigenous people from this country. And this missed my text. I have pictures of this. I don't know if I included it in the book, but they're definitely in my presentation, where they showed these people, this man sitting on top of what looks like a mountain.
Is this all the bison? The buffalo? The buffalo that were killed?
Millions of them. For the purpose of starving the Indians to steal their land. That was the purpose of it. And I mean, rotting corpses people were shooting them from trains. And it was just, and I'm watching this and I'm looking at, there's another scripture that says, my earth is weary of you. We have desecrated. Now, here's the irony about that. There's this one guy standing proudly on top of a mountain of skulls, a mountain of them, and two people on the bottom, another person on the bottom, proud, millions. Now, let me just tell you something. Particularly in a place like Oregon, but anywhere in the United States, it's a good time to be a cat or dog. Can I tell you that they got better health care?
Oh, man,
they got better food. There's even water. I went past a place. This is when I had a moment. We walked past a place and I thought it was, some sort of a bakery with a dog theme. It was a dog bakery. And they had gourmet water in bottles.
Wow.
And there was a man, I'm not making this up, that was outside digging in a trash can trying to find some food.
Wow.
I lost my mind. My friend was in the restaurant waiting for me. She sees my hands waving, and I was just feeling some kind of way about that, right? So right now, let me just say, the millions of bison, millions of buffalo killed. I dare you. If a puppy rolled up in here right now, a little yellow lab rolled up and was running around, and we took some of the wires and wrapped it around its neck and held it up till it choked, gasped, and died, you and I would be arrested faster than if it was a black man on the other side of that.
Absolutely. We gotta just go ahead and address the elephant in the room. You and I have talked about it for quite some time off camera. And I told you that when we dropped our first episode, there were so many comments that came in about this debate with Wes Huff.
Yeah.
So we just gonna go ahead and get it out the way right now. You had a debate with Wes Huff, and it created quite the stir, quite the controversy. But you learned a lot from that moment in time. I want you to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, definitely learned a lot from that situation. First of all, the thing that I did learn was when you're not feeling your best, don't get involved in things, specifically dealing with business. I learned to watch who's in your inner circle because I was actually betrayed by somebody that I actually thought was a close friend. Turned out to be the person who was plotting against me the whole time to put me in a very uncomfortable situation. And he chose one of my weakest hours to do it, just trying to recover from pneumonia, just being fresh out of the hospital. So I learned that, people can be so close to you, and you just have to be able to discern better who is in your inner circle. That's one thing I definitely learned from that. And then I also learned, I came to the realization, believe it or not, people probably won't believe this, that I am a public figure.
You did not know this beforehand. I mean,
No.
over 8 million, 10 million followers across all platforms.
I knew I was popular.
Views.
I knew I was popular. I knew people everywhere I go, people recognize me everywhere. But it didn't really settle in until this happened when it went mainstream. Then I was like, oh, this went mainstream. Like, I really am a public figure. I'm not just in the conscious community famous.
Yeah.
I'm global famous. I'm mainstream famous. And one person was allowed, or I allowed one person to capitalize off of my name to try to catapult themselves off of clout chasing to a certain level of fame, which they did, but they crashed already. But I did learn, like, wow, so when you're in that level of exposure, you also have to watch what you do, what you say, where you go, how you respond to things. I learned about responding. My initial response wasn't that good. My initial response was very pompous and a little aggressive, verbally aggressive. And so my initial response to the whole situation, which I ended up deleting, it just wasn't a good response. But I did learn a lot. Then I also learned about being prepared, because what I learned from school when I was on a debate team, this is why I said that this wasn't really a debate. I was never told that this was a debate. I was told that I was going to come, I have the messages. It said, you're going to come hang out, and we're going to talk about the difference between spirituality and religion.
Because the host of the show that you all went on, both you and Wes, this was a friend of yours. You all lived in the same neighborhood. Your kids played together. Your wives hung out. All of that. Correct?
Yeah, they did. It was, this guy I thought was a close guy. But come to find out, he had been plotting on doing this for quite some time. And now, as I replayed in my mind, several messages he sent me about wanting to talk about some of the stuff he saw in some of my clips, just himself supposedly, it all came rushing back, and I realized that he was really against everything that I believed in, and that he was he was into this apologetic Christian stuff, which is okay. I mean, listen, his wife is a Muslim. I love everybody.
Right. He said that during the debate.
Yeah, I love everybody.
His wife is a Muslim. Yeah.
But I just little more things that he added on, like that I came to his house and banged on his door and scared his daughters.
2:30 in the morning.
I rang his doorbell, and I have the recording of me ringing his doorbell, not only on my phone, and when I state the time, the place, the location I'm at. He released a Ring doorbell video, which shows me ringing the doorbell with a piece of paper in my hand that had a typed note, which was a note saying I don't consent to using any of the footage. And then my car, also records everything like it's not a Tesla, but it records like a Tesla. It's a Mercedes S class. It records everything. So because the car was there, it recording me standing there ringing the doorbell, which I have a copy of that video as well. So nobody banged on a door like a crazy madman. I didn't go driving through sleet and snow through the night to get to his house. I literally went around the corner. Yes, we're neighbors. It's a 1.5 minute walk to his house. I drove because I was sick with pneumonia and I didn't have enough energy, so I drove around the corner instead of walking. But it was just to say, and there was never a lawsuit. It was a cease and desist. Nobody ever tried to sue anybody. It was a cease and desist that said, I do not consent to using my image and my likeness. And I didn't think it was professional the way it was done and the way that it was contrived and set up in the ambush and the word salad that was used. When I did debating in school, you learn the first thing you learn in debating is, number one, you prepare for a debate. Now, this guy had prepared for me for over a year because I went to his account and saw all these videos, probably damn near 100 videos about me.
Were you aware of who he was?
No clue.
And what his stance was prior to getting on the
Never
live?
seen this guy, never heard of him, had no clue who this guy was. If I did, and when I saw his face pop up on this virtual screen, I would have just walked out because I would have realized right away this was some bull crap, but I didn't know who he was. And so what you learn what a debate is, and the first thing you learn in debate class is that debating is not about who's telling the truth or who's right or wrong. That's irrelevant in a debate. It means nothing. Debates are not about who's right and wrong. This is where people's misconception about what debating is all about. Debating is all about who can win an argument, okay? And so in that particular case, he actually he appeared to have won the argument. He won the argument because he stood his ground in a way that made it seem like I was uncertain of myself. And I did become uncertain of myself, actually. But then later on to find out that everything that I said was actually 100% accurate. And this was verified through actual academics that really got pissed off at what he had been doing and saying he was a PhD. He's not a PhD. He even told Joe Rogan he was a PhD. He's not a PhD. He's studying to try to get a PhD, but he's got many years to go. Who's to say he'll ever even get it?
Well, there were a few moments in watching this, and we're not going to delve into this the entire interview.
Yeah.
So we know this, but there were a few moments in the debate where some of the texts that you made mention of were discredited as though those were forged texts, known forged texts. So let's talk about that.
Well, they came with their pre-set up questions, which should have gave me the red flag that this was already pre-planned. And they wanted to pick apart things that I had said about the Sinai Bible, the Codex Sinaiticus, and where there's no apparent crucifixion. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't believe that Jesus was or wasn't crucified. You see how things, before I get into it deeper, how things can be taken out of context? There's no context into my understanding of my personal belief about Jesus being crucified or not. In a podcast prior, I had mentioned, they were asking me about these things, and I had mentioned that there's different possibilities that may even exist. I mean, like the Sinai Bible, for example, and the Codex Sinaiticus. It's quite possible that Jesus was never crucified because this text is 14,400 mistranslations or different versions of the translation between that and the Bible, the King James Bible. And then on top of that, there appears to be no crucifixion. And so he tried to trip me up on that. And he said he had a book on his shelf that's got it right in there, but he never pulled the book out and opened it. Meanwhile, I found out that particular version of the story doesn't have the crucifixion in it. And according to real academics, a doctor and also a PhD, real academics who teach this stuff, they contacted me and they actually made their own video showing the record that he was saying had the crucifixion in it. And they contacted him and said, hey, there's no crucifixion here. Why'd you make that up? And he told them, well, there's another text that's around the same period that has a verse around the same size as the empty space that would fit into the Codex Sinaiticus. Well, how come you didn't say that in the debate then, you see? So again, I was right. And then also when he tripped me up with that, I said, well, maybe I was talking about the gospel of maybe I was talking about Barnabas, right? Gospel of Barnabas. And then that's when he tried to say, well, that was a forgery because they found that there was a mistake in one letter or something, and you can see it was copied back. Well, but yeah, it was a copy back according to the PhDs and the doctors and an archdeacon from the church. They said that, yeah, but it's copied from an actual documented record. He never brought that up in the debate. He didn't say to you, well, yeah, that might be a copy, but it's a copy from something that actually was original.
Yeah.
He just led everyone to believe that there was a copy that didn't, like a forged, just fabrication.
Every step along the way, from the PR to the moment you walked onto that call property of the calls with the McGee family, and where Uncle Nearest sits right now, you had the gut feeling that this is what I'm supposed to do.
It's trusting your gut, it's trusting discernment, it's trusting the Holy Spirit. So for me, it's my gut is fully attached, right? So it's a little bit, you could call it my gut, but it's almost like an umbilical cord. So I am getting the download. So when I walk through it, yes, it's a trust your gut, but it's a trust your gut because the Lord is like, that's you.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, when they trust their gut and it does not work out, the question is what is the gut attached to? If the gut is attached to your mind's eye, well, there's a really good chance that that gut is a little off.
Yeah. Because I think that there are so many people who looked at you when you first started and like,
thought I was crazy.
You are insane.
Listen, when we announced, so we came out July 19th, 2017. By the end of 2018, we were announcing that we had purchased a 300, and at that time, it's a lot bigger now. It was 270 acres. Now it's 458. But at the time, 270 acre property to build Nearest Green Distillery, that we were building out a $50 million distillery. People thought we were, when I say nuts, absolute nuts, because the brand was a new brand and the failure rate is over 99%. And so it made no sense to people. I even had investors that said, Fawn, this doesn't make any sense. So many of the whiskey brands, bourbon brands, they don't have home places. But what I understood is there would come a point where I'm in the press every day, my company is building, my brand is growing, and it would be too easy to kill my company if it didn't have roots. And so I had to set up roots. I had to plant those roots very early on because I knew that I would have a target on my back.
I mean, target on your back, because when you think of Black people, people of color who enter into the spirits game, I mean, the survival rate, most companies are eaten up by the larger companies.
So the survival rate of any race and of any gender is not even 1%. So that is just, let me tell you the difference is that we give up. That's the difference. I had a woman stand up at one of the Love and Whiskey, African-American woman, I think it was in Houston, and she was talking about how she's in country music and how hard it is in Nashville and how difficult it is for a Black woman. And I let her talk for a while and I said, listen, I got to just stop you. Every successful country artist has your exact same story.
Yeah.
So if you don't succeed in country, it's because you quit. Garth has the same story. Alan Jackson has the same story. Like, everybody has the exact same story. You come into our industry, it's the same thing. Everybody has the same challenges with the distributors, the same challenges with, everybody has the same challenges. The difference is every time we quit.
Yeah. When you've been along this journey, what has been that moment when you said, if this does not break, I am going to turn back? Or did you ever have it?
No, that's not an option. Keith and I, we laugh about it when something happens that we know would make everybody who we know quit. We look at each other and go, that's another chapter in the book.
Yeah.
All of this stuff, I cannot wait for 20 years down the line, whenever it is, that we actually write the book of how this was built and we include everything. Because the thing that we do, as I've noticed this as African Americans, and I'm sure other cultures do it as well, but I tend to really pay attention to my own. What I've noticed is when we're having enormous challenges, we'll share that in real time.
that is not the time to be having conversations about the challenges with anybody but God and your closest confidant. Why? Because that person, the challenges are usually capital related, and that isn't a race issue. That is an entrepreneur issue. You know plenty of entrepreneurs that are white, and if you ask them the biggest challenge, it's capital. Capital is the challenge for entrepreneurs in general. And so when we start talking about the challenges we're having in real time, we don't realize what potential investor is losing confidence the more we run our mouths.
Oh, that's so good.
It is. I watch it over and over again, and I'm specifically watching one particular entrepreneur that is amazing. Everybody loves this person. And now everything is around is like, this person's having all these challenges. Too many people know that. Why do so many people know that? There were too many conversations going on as the challenges were happening. If a person doesn't have the ability to help you with the challenge, you should not be having the conversation.
Yeah.
And this is the stuff that we talk about on the other side. And so this is something, with social media, is people say, well, everybody tries to just have the glamorous life on social media, and they don't show the hard part. And so then you have this whole group of people that are determined to just show the hard part. Here's the problem with that. God can turn that situation around in 24 hours.
Yeah.
24 hours. But now you've spent time growing the challenge, because anything you place your mind on, anything you speak of grows. Why are you spending the time
growing the challenge?
Yeah. And that's something we don't understand. And we don't understand that a lot of our challenges, we've made them bigger than they were ever meant to be, because we just kept speaking about them. We kept giving our mind to them. So for me, a challenge comes, and for someone else, it might seem insurmountable. For me, I'm like, God, you got this. I was in the middle of a challenge that undoubtedly would take out every single entrepreneur I know. And the Lord so clearly said to me, move on from this one, because I've got this one. This is your next challenge, and you need to be prepared. I'm in the middle of the current challenge that would wipe most people out. And the Lord is like, I got this one already. I need you to move on, because the next one is coming.
Wow. That is so good. Because I think that is, when we talk to any entrepreneur, any person who sits in that seat, whether they're small business, large business owner, what do they always say? You just don't quit. And that level of determination gets you to build a business of this magnitude in the last decade.
There is literally no difference between most entrepreneurs that succeed and most that don't. At least the ones that came into it with a solid business plan. Let's at least start there, right?
Yeah.
Let's assume that's the foundation.
Yeah.
But once you have that, once you have a product that is great, you have a solid business plan, there really is no real difference between those who fail and those who succeed, other than the ones who quit in between.
Yeah. Two things, right? When we talk about fruit. One, seeded fruit.
Yep.
Because you and I were talking about seeded grapes.
Yeah.
And if you can find the seeded grapes, you eat the seeded grapes.
Right.
But not the cotton candy grapes.
No,
Because I've seen people doing the reels, baby, and they say, these my favorite grapes. I got the cotton candy grapes. And I'm like, oh, Lord.
Man, I'm going to tell you, like, it's difficult for me to go in the grocery store, because it's like I started seeing stuff that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up, my dad is from Miami, so in the summers, like, I remember, like, going to watermelon farms and throwing watermelons during the summer. And I could tell you, I never saw a watermelon without a seed.
Yeah.
So, like, the first time I saw a watermelon without a seed, I was like, whoa.
What is this?
What's wrong with this one? I went back to the store, took that one back, and I was like, yo, something's wrong with the watermelon. It didn't have no seeds in it. I was like, oh, no, it's seedless. I was like, how? And they couldn't explain to me how. And so, like, people have to understand we come from a seed. Like, every human came from a seed. That's semen. Humans don't exist without a seed.
Yeah.
Okay? Life comes from a seed. okay? You can't have food. Like they say in Genesis 1:29, I have given you every fruit-bearing seed, okay? That was our food in the garden. That's all we needed,
Yeah.
okay? So to go from a divine space of not only I give you this seed, I give you this seed one time and it's going to produce for you for a lifetime and generations. Your grandchildren will have this mango, okay? And this tree that I have in the backyard. And if an animal comes along and takes one of those mangoes and takes it 2 doors down and it drops into the ground, I will create another tree for you. That's divinity working for us.
Yeah.
So we have to understand what a seed is. That's God giving us abundance. That's God giving, like when you have your children from a seed, now your children can have children. And now their children can have children. It's the same process with food. It's no different. So that's the source and the sign of life that people just don't understand. But this is also part of the abomination and the disconnection that they've given us very slowly over time. So first the seeds were there, but they were white seeds in a watermelon. And you saw it and you said, well, I mean, it's still seeds. And then it showed up with no seeds, and you were like, well, it's convenient. Okay? That's how they work us with everything.
Yeah.
But that's why I always say, like, for me, like, it's very difficult for me to go to the grocery store because I'm looking around and I'm seeing the cotton candy grapes and, you know,
You said pink
pineapple.
Pink pineapples.
I'm like, this is wild work.
I saw it online. I said, how did they get the pineapple pink?
It's genetically modified.
Yeah. What did they put in it?
It's 100% genetically modified.
Yeah.
So when you take something, I'll give you a for instance. Tomato. The reason why tomatoes can grow in the winter now, because again, everything isn't just like on my farm, everything is not only seeded, it's seasonal.
It's seasonal.
We have seasons in life. Different things grow during different seasons because during the winter season, you're supposed to have things that are growing that are good for the immune system.
Mm-hmm.
During the summer season, you have things that are growing that are fruitful and in water. So that's how you have a lot of melons that grow in the summer because now it's hydrating you because it's hot. Everything makes sense, okay? But when you think about how they've manipulated something like a tomato, all right, the reason why it can grow in the winter now instead of being something that grows in the summer is because now they've genetically modified it. And they splice a tomato with an Arctic flounder, which is a fish that lives in the Arctic. So now
So what?
now that tomato can survive during the winter because it has the genes of an Arctic flounder fish that can survive in frigid temperatures in the water.
This is the first time I'm ever hearing this.
Yeah, but this is the abomination that's happening with the food. This is why I'm telling you, this is the matrix. Nothing is real anymore. The food isn't real anymore. This conversation is real, but most of our conversations aren't real anymore. The news isn't real anymore. Nothing is real. People helping people isn't real anymore. Nothing's real anymore. The water's tainted. The air's polluted. They're trying to use technology to block out the sun.
Yeah.
The drugs don't heal anything. Nothing is real. Nothing is what it's supposed to be. So it's up to us to get conscious and wake up and stop seeing with these two eyes because these two eyes get tricked and start looking with this eye. Start looking with our divine eye.
Well, then that's getting calcified because all the damn fluoride in the water.
All the fluoride in the water. But that's also part of the waking up.
Yeah.
When we begin to wake up and realize the fluoride is calcifying our pineal gland.
Yeah.
And that pineal gland is actually useful, just like every other thing in our bodies. You know, like when you remove your gallbladder, you needed that. Okay? When you remove your appendix, you needed that. When you go to your dentist and get a root canal and they remove the root and the nerve and the blood supply to that tooth is dead. It looks like it's still alive, but it is dead. And when an infection occurs in that tooth, it means that no immunity could get to that tooth anymore because they removed the blood vessels.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up because, of course, you hear a lot of conversation around and the correlation between breast cancer, root canals.
Yeah.
And then when people get their wisdom teeth extracted.
Yep.
around the disease that is triggered because you get your wisdom teeth.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to understand, like I just mentioned.
I'm like the only person with me and my sister are like the only people with their wisdom teeth.
You cannot leave dead tissue in the body. This is why I'm saying you can't eat dead flesh. This is what, when you leave dead tissue in the body, it begins to necrotize and then it turns into gangrene. Okay? And then it will kill all of you. This is why when diabetics, their blood is so thick that blood can't flow to that area anymore. And then it becomes infected, and because blood can't flow there, that means that your immunity can't get there anymore.
They have to cut
the tissue begins to die. All right? They have to cut it off. Because if you don't cut it off, it will infect and kill all of you. All right? So it's no different when you get a root canal. All right? It's important that you understand that that tooth is dead, and that most of the time you got a root canal is because of an infection was there. But because that tooth is dead, now it gives rise to infection in the mouth. So a lot of times if you get a root canal on your right side and then you find breast cancer in your right breast, it makes sense, okay? We've already saw the studies that are connecting a lot of infections in the mouth to cardiovascular disease, but now we're starting to see it with breast cancer as well too.
There are going to be so many people who say, "Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. I don't even believe that. I can't get with that.
Yeah.
I got breast cancer because it run in my family.
Yeah.
I got breast cancer because I got cancer because my grandmama, and I got hypertension because my grandmother." What do you say about that?
I think it's a cop-out. I think it's people willing to compromise themselves because it's easier when your doctor tells you something simple. And I'll tell you, the number one cause of death for cardiologists is heart disease.
Mm.
That's the number one cause of death for somebody who treats heart disease, is heart disease. And this is coming from somebody who's a clinician. So I'm telling you, we don't know what we're talking about when it comes to healing. When it comes to treatment, we know exactly what we're talking about. But when it comes to actual healing and health, we know nothing about it. We only know about treating symptoms. So the idea that something can be a conspiracy, well, first of all, look at the new studies that are coming out. They've done many studies on, let me give you, for instance, they've done many studies on a drug called ivermectin. Now, most people, when they hear ivermectin, they think of a dewormer for their pet or a horse. All right?
Okay, yeah, I've never heard of it. Don't have a pet, though.
Well, you've heard of dewormers for dogs.
Oh, dewormers. Yeah.
Deworming is parasites.
Okay, yes.
Okay? The number one cause of death for dogs, you know what it is?
It's not parasites, right?
Cancer.
The number one cause of death in dogs is cancer?
Cancer. And what do they constantly do when you go to a vet? Putting them on dewormers, parasite medications. Okay? So what I'm telling people is that they're never going to tell you that. The cancer industry is $1 billion industry. They load you up with chemo, they load you up with radiation, they give you mammograms, they do surgeries and cut things out of you. Okay, but all of the new information is showing you, not only when you look at parasites over here and cancer over here, their metabolism is the same. Okay, and let me explain what I mean by that. When you look at a healthy cell, we metabolize using glucose, using cellular respiration, meaning we need oxygen, okay, to metabolize and make energy. All right, when you look at cancer, cancer doesn't use that mechanism. That's how you can distinguish between a cancer cell and a healthy cell. A cancerous cell uses fermentation. Okay, when something is fermenting, what is it doing? In many cases, it's dying. It's creating, it's rotting.
Yeah.
Okay, so cancer uses fermentation. It does not use what a healthy cell uses. It also uses a lot of glutamate, okay, which is an amino acid. And guess what else uses that same metabolic pathway of glutamate? Parasites. They cannot function without it. All right, so that's why they've done the studies with ivermectin in a lot of dogs, a lot of horses, but also now humans now, and they're showing you that when you put somebody who has cancer on ivermectin, it starts to kill off the cancer. So is the cancer cancer, or is it cancer and parasites, or is it just parasites?
Wow. But they can get on the detox and maybe start clearing these parasites out.
And that's why part of what my detox does is so important, to get rid of parasites, because most people have them. If you eat sushi, if you eat salmon, okay, if you consume a lot of meat, okay, because all you got to do is next time you get that pork chop and you bring it home, set it out, pour some Coca-Cola on it, pour some acid, which is what Coca-Cola is, and you will see all of these
the
parasites come
worms
out of it.
out.
Okay, now in your mind, you're thinking, well, I cook it, so I kill it.
No, they ball up and then they expand out.
Not only that, heat doesn't kill the eggs that they lay. So the eggs that are in the meat, you might have killed some of the parasites, but you didn't kill the eggs. So when they go in your body, you're still getting parasites. So this is why.
And then they're hatching in your pancreas.
Yeah, they're hatching in your gut, and then they're just going to every part of the body. I mean, I had somebody I was working with, had cancer in the neck.
If that blessed you, trust me, you've only scratched the surface. There's so much more wisdom, truth, and transformation waiting in the full conversation. Click the link in the caption below to watch the entire interview, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Vault Empowers Talks.